Hey guys, it's Rambo here. I've been asked a lot of questions, both on and off stream, about how to play Zarya, how to get better with Zarya, and if I have tips and tricks for players who are either new to Zarya or just having a frustrating time with Zarya. This will be at least a 2-part series, if not a 3-part series, given an escalating level of kind of techniques that I've come up with as I play Zarya. Starting off in this video will be specifically basic on by the numbers, some of my rules of thumb for general play with Zarya, and advantages and disadvantages against certain characters in Overwatch that have tended to give me more trouble than others. Starting off with a by the numbers look at Zarya, her particle cannon has 100 ammo, which drains at 2 energy per second on her left click ability, which deals 80 to 150 damage based off of her current energy level. Her right click ability is anywhere from 46 to 95 damage based off of her current energy level, and this specifically has an unlimited range. I will talk about it more in advanced placements and shooting guide, but there are places where you can fire completely unseen and still effectively use Zarya as artillery to break a choke. Her bubble, it blocks 200 damage or more, but it's only a single instance of damage. So if you take 200 points of damage in total given a soldier shooting at you, then your bubble will break. Alternatively, if you take the 1,000 points of damage from a diva bomb, the bubble will break, but you will still not take any damage. The personal bubble that she has is 2 seconds, and it has a 10-second cooldown. This is going to be your bread and butter of maintaining your energy, and there are a couple techniques to do so. Her projected barrier on allies, you have an 8-second cooldown. Again, the bubble lasts for 2 seconds, and it also blocks 200 or more damage in total. So this is great for saving a Mercy before a Diva Bomb that's about to wipe your team who has res, or saving a healer during some direct damage, be it a Junkrat tire, or if they're just getting focused pretty hard for the moment. And it helps mitigate the damage and helps people escape from the situation that they're currently in. The projected barrier, while initially can be used to gain energy, and I will talk about this a little bit later, is not something that you want to use to maintain your energy later on, because it is a very, very powerful tool to save your teammates from what may be an insta-kill. In Zarya's kit, and what makes her the moneymaker of most teams, is her Graviton Surge. Her Graviton Surge does 22 damage per second. It pulls in everybody in the enemy team within 8 yards, and it holds them for 4 seconds. This is your playmaker, and this is what Zarya brings to the table. She pairs with essentially every hero in Overwatch, barring Winston, as his ultimate is a little wonky and it doesn't really fit in with many ultimates to begin with. Graviton Surge is not something that I would ever recommend using solo. It's something that needs to be paired with your team because it can lead straight to a team kill, if anything, starting out with 4 to 6. The Graviton Surge is specifically something that is a little tricky in some parts, as a Diva Matrix can block it, and if you're not paying attention to what a Diva is doing on the enemy team, then you're going to lose your ultimate. Even if you shoot it towards the ground, which you see me do often in many situations to break a choke or just getting in there and dropping ult, is her Diva's Matrix will block it as it comes out of the barrel. And it's incredibly frustrating, but managing the Graviton Surge is possibly the most important part of a Zarya player's effectiveness after learning how to manage the projected barriers. Now, in my time playing Zarya, I have come across a couple rules of thumb that really make her a little bit more easy to manage when it comes to whether or not to engage, specifically on how my energy level is looking. And I try not to engage anybody without my first barrier of energy, which is 40 energy. This is where your damage is starting to get high enough that you can fight most heroes on a one-on-one scale. Some of the heroes like Reinhardt and Roadhog, you definitely need a little bit more unless you can manage to avoid getting hit by them. But 40 energy is somewhat of my baseline before I really start going in and engaging the enemy aggressively, as opposed to sitting back and passively building my energy through barriers. The bubble usage is incredibly important for Zarya, and this is where you can start by bubbling a Reinhardt, which, if his shield is up, that damage will still account for your energy gained from that bubble, or just bubbling someone who's about to engage in order to get the energy to kind of get you going. But once you pass 40 energy, maybe even 60 energy, I wouldn't use a projected barrier on a teammate unless they're about to die. The reason for this is it's such a powerful ability. So your personal bubble comes into play, and this is where you can essentially leapfrog with a Reinhardt if you're defending, or even if you're attacking at a choke point. Your Reinhardt can drop his shield for a minute, you take all the focus fire, you get 40 energy out of the deal. You do have to play this a little bit smart because it can also bait out a Roadhog hook, and there have been a couple times where I get my bubble popped and I get hooked. More often than not, you can step in front of a Rein shield, bubble, take the damage, take the energy, retreat behind the shield, and continue your onslaught of damage. On a choke point, if you don't have a Reinhardt and you're working with a D.Va, it's a similar situation. However, it seems like D.Va's defense matrix doesn't always connect the damage with your bubble. She absorbs and stops damage in front of her instead of on her person, as Reinhardt's shield does. Those are my general rules of thumb: to engage with no less than 40 energy. Bubble energy to maintain your energy level is personal, and Rein shields can be used to your benefit at a choke point. Now, some advantages and disadvantages I've run into are Reinhardts tend to give me a lot of trouble if they're at full health and they get a pin off without me getting my bubble, because that's 300 damage straight off of my 400 health right away, and one more swing usually ends me. If I do get the bubble and I have over 40 energy, I can usually back away and manage to burn down the Reinhardt without too much of an issue. Pharahs, you only have a 15-meter range with your particle beam, your left click, and this becomes a big issue if your Pharah's flying high on the other team. However, if they're low enough, you can usually hit them with your particle beam and assist in killing with your soldier, Widowmaker, or other hit scan that you may have. Now, Widowmakers, given that your right click has an unlimited range, you can bombard a Widowmaker to get her to move, usually from behind cover. I do the same thing with Bastions, is once you know where they're located and you can determine the arc of the shot, you can usually kind of artillery and strong hand your way through that combat situation without ever taking damage. Roadhog's a little iffy, and he's the other one that tends to give me trouble. If he gets a hook off without me getting my bubble on, then I usually take a lot of damage, and it's a little bit easier for him to follow up on the kill. If I get hooked, I still bubble, and if I can pull it out by damaging him, if he's at full health, it becomes a little bit harder. Even at 100 energy, you have trouble out damaging his healing capability. But those are the 5 characters that Zarya herself tends to have the most trouble with, given that they're full health or given positioning on the map. Now, I will get into shot specifics, map specifics in the next video, and more on movement, which I think is the bigger question I get from people. Is how do you manage to mitigate this situation? How do you not die so often, whereas they tend to run in, bubble, and get cleaned up. So I will be putting that out in a second video. I just wanted to kind of get a baseline overview of Zarya. For anybody who is brand new to the character, you have a general basic idea of what's going on. Even though there are many videos on Zarya at a basic level, I feel like it's only right to include it in a 3-part series so that we're not starting off for somebody who's played a couple hours of Zarya and kind of has a feel for the character. Thank you all for watching. It's Rambo Bear, and I will see you in the next video.